both you and I will be attending pretty much the greatest video game soundtrack concert of all time,
Come to life.
MAGFest, next month, actually a few weeks away. You're pretty much, as of late, now a documentarian on you're a documentarian on MAGFest. Actually, I wanted to ask you the questions that you've been posting to people for your
Ha!
MAGFest documentary.
Oh, that's lovely. Great.
Definitely wanted to ask you this because you're never on camera for this, and I
Oh,
think this documentary that you shared with me, I think it's just fantastic. I love MAGFest so much, but when I saw the documentary, both of them, I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And I definitely wanted to pick your brains about that stuff. So
absolutely.
we'll start
Absolutely.
off. Was there a particular reason that you started doing a documentary on MAGFest?
It's like it's such a Magfest type of like internet humor origin story, I guess. But I was honestly just, getting ready for Magfest. I would say I think it was like Magfest 2016, 2017. But I was getting ready for Magfest, and I didn't really have any crazy plans. Maybe I was just gonna take some pictures and stuff. I decided to just randomly go on this. There's a Facebook group called Magfest 21 plus.
Plus, yep.
Yep. And in that group, people do a lot of communicating during the show, stuff that's going on. People like meet up and whatnot. And I decided to just post to there, like, hey guys, would anybody be interested in doing like interviews at Magfest? Is that anything someone would be interested in doing? I expected that would get kind of like a few lulls, a couple likes, and then nobody, it would get buried in like a bunch of other posts. But I got a couple people that responded. A lot of people immediately came in and they would list out their mag credentials. They would tell me, "Hey, I've been going to MagFest since this one. I staff MagFest a lot. I'd be down to do this." And it kind of blew me away, like how all these people were just interested in meeting a complete stranger that they met in a Facebook group on the internet to just talk about MagFest. So I was like, okay, let's see where this goes. I did a more like fleshed out formal post in the group sometime after that, and I mean, I must have gotten like 10, 15 responses, people that are just ready to go. It was honestly mind blowing. I couldn't believe that there are that many people that wanted to just do it. And mind you, back then I didn't have anything to show them because I wasn't doing interviews at that point. I didn't have we as two stupid gamers really haven't even done too much. So now when I do the post, I make sure to link the previous videos so people have an idea of what they're in for. But that was just like a straight post, like, hey, let's meet up, let's do this video. Who's interested? That was it.
Oh, and for those of you who actually don't know what MAGFest is, that are listening to this, MAGFest is short for Music and Gaming Fest. It's pretty much a music festival centered around video game music, and it's amazing. I love it. I look forward to it every year.
Yeah, it's the best time of the year.
Oh, for sure, dude. I mean, like, I go to a lot of events throughout Michigan throughout the year, but I'm always just looking forward to MAGFest. It just blew my mind when I went there for the first time in 2018. But enough about me. This is about you. So, what does MAGFest mean to you?
Oh, it's become like just such a profound weekend for me. It's my favorite weekend of the year. I really love what they do for music and video games. We already talked about this before, but music is so important to video games. It's such a big part. The soundtracks, the sound effects, all of it. MagFest, I would also say, in addition to being a music festival centered around video games, it's like a big party with a bunch of concerts at it, which was actually one of the ways that Paul, one of the founders of MagFest, described it. Yeah, I mean, it's become such a big part of my life now because I do this every year that I don't know. I like to go there. I like to experience all the fun stuff that's available for us, all the different concerts, the 24-hour arcades. But it's become such a great way of meeting very interesting people. Like even you. Like if it wasn't for MagFest, I wouldn't be here right now on being interviewed here and talking to you about all of these things and talking to you about MagFest. I wouldn't have just the number of people that I've met because of the documentary. It's been very profound. I love talking to one of the best interviews. Not that I would put any of them in over any of the other ones, but one of the best ones was meeting Paul and just seeing him talk about the show. Because for one, it showed me it showed me that like at this event, you can meet the people that run the event, that organize the event. They will like come out and hang out with you. And I didn't know any other event that would do that. So to me, that's what MagFest means to me. It's like it's this big event that's different from everything else, and it even goes deeper than that because I also just like before all of that stuff, I've been going to MagFest for a couple years before that too. It and I liked it because it was different, because it was a whole different experience for me.
So, how did you find out about MagFest, and what made you want to come to the event?
Okay, so I used to be part of a video game community called on the internet. It was from the Destructoid website. They had a very active community of gamers online. They had forums. You would some people would write blogs, and it was all based around the website, which was a news type of like a video game news outlet. It wasn't one of the biggest video game news outlets, but what was cool about that place was that it was very raw. And their community was unmatched. I don't think I've ever met another community like theirs from any type of video game outlet. But they were big fans of what they call NARPs, no apparent reason party. So they would just all, yeah, they would just all get together at some point, at some place, sometime, and they'd just hang out, play video games. Everybody, they would meet up at bars or at somebody's house. It was just constant partying. And another thing that they liked to do was go to conventions. One of those conventions was MagFest. MagFest was always touted as the holy grail of video game events that you could go and just party and have fun. And after years of hearing about that from all of them, and some of the stories, some of the podcasts that I listened to that were recorded at previous MagFest, I just thought to myself, I have to go. Oh, also, I saw the DJ battle from MagFest 12, and I thought to myself, I have to go to this. So I went to the very next one, MagFest 13. That was my first one.
How far do you travel to get there?
Wait, hold on. I've heard that before.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I'm going to be the first to admit I'm not even completely original with any of these questions since I'm using yours. Well, because like I said, you never ever on camera, and you've never been interviewed, as far as I know, for your documentary. So
Yeah. I really appreciate you doing this. I travel about 4 to 6 hours, depending on what I take. Actually, my commute this year got faster. I looked at my train tickets. It's about 3.5 hours, so that's really not too bad. I come from New York.
how long have you been going to MagFest?
It's been about 5 years.
5 years?
It's been about 5 years. 5 MagFests. I haven't missed a single one. So this one coming up is gonna be my 6th.
What do you like about MagFest, and what makes it different from other conventions?
So what I like, it has a 24-hour arcade. That by itself is pretty next level. Most conventions work like this. You get in on Friday, maybe you're a little bit late, and then you get to be there till about 8 p.m. and then you have to go home and you're like exhausted. You come home or to your hotel, you drop all your stuff, you try to throw together a dinner. Then you have Saturday, which is super long, and then you have Sunday, which is over by 5 o'clock. And most people don't even stay around till 5. They just leave at like 3 or 4 or something like that. So I appreciate the fact that it's a literal 4 days of nonstop convention. And some people go on Wednesday, so they also do what's called day 0. So they're already having fun before the fest, whatever, starts. So it's just end-to-end, nonstop video game music, arcades, partying. It's great. It's so much different than anything, and it's not a big corporate, money fest. Nobody's there to sell you anything. For the most part, nobody's there to try to get you hype on the newest game. Not that I think there's anything wrong with being hype on the newest games, but it's just a relaxed video game experience with a bunch of cool nerds that you get to hang out with for like 4 days basically.
So far, what are some of your favorite memories from MagFest?
That's another tough one. One of the ones that always stands out to me for some reason, for some reason it just stands out to me, even though it's not that big of a memory, is the last day coming home on like year 2, like my second MagFest or my third. I was at a party Saturday night, and my train was Sunday, 6 o'clock in the morning. So it's like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, oh man, I gotta get my stuff and I gotta go to the train. And somebody just hands me oh man, I don't even remember what it was. Somebody gave me a beer, but they wanted to pour it into something, so I had like a cup to hold it in, but we didn't have anything. We just improvised some plastic container that was lying around, and I just drank a beer out of that. And I thought this is kind of funny because in about an hour I have to be on a train, and I'm starting to drink. I made my train, everything was fine, but I just love that. I love that sense of freedom that came with that, which is like, well, yeah, whatever. I'm just gonna drink 2 hours before my train ride home. Things will be fine. There've been blizzards and stuff that have like almost stranded me.
Wow, can't say I've
Yeah.
had the same experience, but then again, I'm old and I always try to get sleep. Well, dude, because I fly to and from MAGFest. There's no way I could take a train. Well, I could, but that would just take
Forever.
too
Yeah.
long.
Yeah, you'd have to do like transfers and stuff like that. Yeah, so MAGFest is in this weird. They usually put it in this weird couple of months where, blizzards are on the table. It could have happened, and I want to say the 2 years before MAGFest, the MAGFest from 2 years ago, I had to go a day later because there was such a bad blizzard here, and I just missed my train. I just missed like an early train I could have caught just as the blizzard was coming our way. It would have been fine if I got on the train and I went to MAGFest, but I didn't make that train, and that's the moment that it decided to just, rain down, or rain down. It's decided to, be this crazy storm over here. There's also been times when I was at MAGFest and I was getting ready to leave, and like Sunday, everyone was talking about rumors about how huge blizzard coming. I don't know how the roads are gonna be.
So, over the years that you've been attending MAGFest, what concerts have you attended?
I saw Paraglove for the first time live, which is probably to date the best concert I've ever seen. I've seen Bit Brigade. Last year Bit Brigade did, I want to say Mega Man. I want to say it was Mega Man 2.
You mean like this past year? I mean like 2019's performance?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Mega Man 2 for Takashi Tataishi, I want to say. The guy who
the composer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he came out, they took a huge selfie. It was pretty cool. So like every now and then they get some really cool composers to come out to MAGFest. They had the Streets of Rage composer come out.
Yuzo Koshiro.
Yeah. It's like a legitimate hub for great video game music. This is also an interesting story in and of itself, but back when I first started video editing, I used to make videos with Uncharted. That's really where I got my start video editing, like Uncharted multiplayer clips. And there was this guy who somehow I found his music. He does chip tunes. His name is Robotsexmusic. Mm-hmm. So I used some of his music in my videos, but I was really shy and I didn't ask for permission like I should have. I just kind of used it and I was like, oh, I hope he's okay with it. Then years later, I'm still listening to his music. I really needed a song for this video I did from MAGFest, and I kind of just decided to hit him up. I contacted him. I had already been messaging him before, like asking him, hey, you're going to be at MAGFest this year, or like stuff like that. But this is the first time I had a request. I asked, like, is it okay if I use your song? He said, yeah, sure, that's not a problem. I gave him credit. I made the video. We nerded out about the video and then his music and then some of my videos and stuff like that. And then I ended up getting the chance to meet him and see his music in person because I got to check out his live concert. Like after all of that had happened, I filmed it and I interviewed him too for that. So that was a really cool moment. That was, I have to say, like, hands down.
So why is he one of your musical idols?
I think it's, again, like, I like things that are different. Maybe things that are a little bit obscure, like obscure methods of doing stuff. He does chiptunes, but he doesn't just do chiptunes. There's like a dancey element to his chiptunes. There's a dark element to his chiptunes. It's a very unique sound, and it vibes so well with the videos that I've made in the past. I will listen to his music, and it inspires me to make something. I think that's fantastic,
Well, side question for that then. Are there any particular songs or albums from him that you would recommend?
Yes, Booty Babam is one of the best ones that he's done. I would definitely recommend checking that out. He also has a upcoming album. I have not heard anything lately about him, when he'd be able to release it. But if you got to check him out at the MAGFest 2019, he performed most of that album in its entirety, and that was pretty cool. So yeah, when that album drops, definitely go check it out. And definitely check out Booty Babam. There's some great songs on there.
Have you discovered new games while at MAGFest?
Uh, have I discovered? Yes. I have discovered. There's a game called Galactos Pastries in Space. I like it because it's very similar to. It brings back dogfighting, and it's very similar to Star Fox, which is also one of my favorite games of all time. It's kind of like you're flying around doing dogfights, four player multiplayer. I discovered. It's funny because every year I do my best to try and play as many games as I can, but I end up never making it out there. I get busy. There's so much to do at MAGFest. It's insane. There was this one game at I think last year's MAGFest. It looked so good. It was this like isometric type of game, and the line for it was insane. So I don't know if that's out yet, but now that that's come up, I'm definitely gonna go back and look into that a little bit more. And I also discovered Killer Queen, which is very popular multiplayer game.
I mean, because there's so many indie developers there, and there's a lot of cool things. And I generally try to take like the business cards of like the games that I'm interested in looking out for down the road.
Yeah. MAGFest has a very cool spot for that. It's just called MIVS, MAGFest Indie Games, MIVS, and they have a bunch of indie games, which is great. I love indie games. That's another thing. I think they get to explore a lot of territory in the medium that maybe AAA games are too afraid to touch.
Oh, I would agree. Some of the games that I've played recently. I mean, you mentioned Guacamelee. I know this has nothing to do with the documentary. I don't care. But like one of the games that blew my mind in most recent years was like Limbo.
Yeah.
And Inside. Inside's not too bad, but I like Limbo a little bit more because of just the aesthetic of it.
Yeah. No, Limbo is pretty cool. Have you played Braid?
Oh, I own it. Yes.
Nice. That was also a pretty cool one. Indie games are great because, again, they get to explore those new things, and you see so many different ideas being tried out. I just love that.
I think you kind of answered this earlier, but for posterity's sake, I will ask it. Since MAGFest features concerts, parties, games, panels, etc., what do you like best about the festival? I was about to say convention. I know there's a big war over that. Is it a festival? Is it a convention? But what do you like best about MAGFest?
It's either the arcades or the concerts, honestly, because I've seen so many great concerts and I've had so much fun at the arcade. That being anywhere else is unimaginable because unfortunately arcades are a dying industry. It just doesn't make sense, and you can't get like 200 arcade cabinets in your own house. So I can't imagine any other place that you can go to where you have that many arcade cabinets right next to each other. Not to mention, like modern day console gaming, PC gaming, and also indie games and like some competitive games as well, classic retro games. There's just so much gaming that you can do in that one space. The like 4 halls that they put it into. Yeah, it's got to be the arcades or the concerts.
Yes, I would agree with that statement for both parts for sure. So on to the next question. MAGFest has a lot of quirky creative parts, drunk wizards, elevator parties, etc. What is the most MAGFest thing you ever saw, did, or heard about?
Oh, man. One time some guy just handed me ramen in the hallway. I was just walking by, he just gave me ramen. I thought that was pretty funny.
Why?
I don't know. He just said, "You hungry?" I'm like, "Yeah, I guess." He just handed me, like uncooked noodles. It was like, okay, cool. But yeah, the drunk wizards part of that question is definitely these 2 guys. They're called the Brothers Cosplay. They are so good at like being like big party heads and doing like awesome cosplay. I've been a pretty big fan of them since I heard about a lot of their shenanigans. They do whenever they go to a con, they try to like up it to the next level. They've done a cosplay thing where it was a reference to a Monty Python skit, and they had to bring in a big like wagon into a convention center, and they were walking around yelling and stuff. They did one where one of them dressed up as as Liberty Prime from the Fallout games, and it was a really good costume. And one of the most notable, the most MAGFest thing that they did, I would say, is they brought together over 400 people dressed up as wizards for the purpose of breaking a Guinness World Record. And they've done that. They did it twice, technically speaking. So they did that 2 times, and then they're going to do it again this year with Nintendo characters. So if anyone has a Nintendo character costume and they're going to be at MAGFest, you could potentially... These 2 guys are giving you the opportunity to break a Guinness World Record. I think that's pretty MAGFest.
Wow. I wasn't even aware of the upcoming Nintendo characters get together. I mean, I did see the video about the Guinness Book of World Records Wizard Party.
Yeah, and there's a concert there too. So
the Mega Manathon stage.
Yeah, that's right. There's a stage where they do speed running, and then after the world record is over, which they're really cool with the guys that do Mega Manathon. So that's how they set that up. I mean, like, I just love the togetherness of MAGFest. But yeah, after that fact, after the record goes down, they do a big concert. So they have last year they had Mega Ran over there, which I know was one of your guests on these as well.
Oh yes, for sure. That was a dream come true to actually interview my favorite rapper. I'm not a huge hip hop head, but I just like his music, and I was stoked to interview him. Mega Ran is awesome.
Yeah, he seems like a really nice guy.
Oh, he is super nice. I've met him a few times. Jeez, you stunned me with that one. I wasn't even expecting that. Well done, good sir. Well done. So, if you had to compare MAGFest to a game, book, or any other piece of media, which one and why is it a perfect comparison? Yeah, you come up with these questions, huh? I never expect to be asked them.
It's so funny that you say that, because every year that I've done this, I think to myself, like, man, at some point I may have to be in front of that and answer these questions. And the honest truth is that I don't know if I'd be good at answering any of these, because it feels like my answers change every like couple of months. You know what I mean? I'd be very like finicky about like, oh, I have to say this, but I also have to mention this. It's like, this has to be the perfect answer. That's the mentality I have sometimes with these videos. But yeah, if I had to compare it to any single piece of media, it's such a difficult question, because there's a lot of things, like, I may drift towards music, or I may drift towards video games, or movies, or anything like that. I would probably say,
maybe a roguelike game.
Maybe a roguelike game.
Yeah, if you think about it, because it's always different every day that you show up at MAGFest.
Yeah, or like maybe some kind of, since it's my thing, maybe a JRPG. I think I would have to compare it to Motorhead's Ace of Spades.
Oh, nice.
The album, because there's a lot of great energy in that album. There's a lot of great songs, like obviously the title track. It's kind of like you go to MAGFest for the concerts, so you have Ace of Spades on the album Ace of Spades. That's the song that everybody knows. Even people that don't know Motorhead, they know Ace of Spades because they've probably heard it somewhere before. But there's so much more at MAGFest besides the amazing concerts that they have there. Again, the arcades, the indie gaming, some good cosplay meetups, the partying, and again, the arcades are 24-hour. That album is perfection. That album has Fire. It has a crap ton of hits that are, I would say, probably as good as Ace of Spades if that song wasn't so dang popular.
During your documentary, you mentioned that MAGFest changed your life. How did it change your life?
It feels like it's a religious experience to me now. And I know that sounds very hyperbolic, but it's so important to me now. And I try to always go out of my way to make the videos better and to do additional things. And it's like the one con where I'll do a lot at a different con festival. It's the one event where it's gonna make me go to 110, 125, 150, 200%, because I'm always gonna want to squeeze in more. And we got the video. I do the documentaries. Then I also want to go to my friend's concert. I want to film his concert. I want to help because I also helped the Guinness World Record guys, the Brothers Cosplay. I helped them film that as well. I'm doing that too. and then I also want to hang out with my friends. It almost is like stressful, but when I come back home, I feel so relieved because I've had a great time. I've experienced many great things, and I've done a lot too. Like I come away from the weekend having filmed so much and met up with so many people and gone to so many concerts. Yeah, I mean I never had that much of a motivating force in my life before. It's really quite exhilarating.
What would you like to see more of at MAGFest?
Hotel rooms. I think that's what everyone would say. What would I like to see more of? Just that I don't want that MAGFest spirit to die. That friendliness that like you can walk up to anybody and just like, hey, can I take a picture of your cosplay? Or like oh, I saw you had this shirt. Let's talk about this or something like that. I'm standing there with a costume of my own, and then suddenly like somebody comes up to me and we're talking about Hotline Miami because that's what the costume was about, and we're exchanging all these ideas like, oh, the second one was not quite as good, but it was still a great game. The soundtrack was amazing. I don't want MAGFest to become a place where there's a lot of elitism or there's a lot of like nasty people or people are just rude or unfriendly or cold. I want everyone to remain as approachable and as friendly and awesome as they have always been. Because every year I go to MAGFest, it just feels like you can walk up to people and just you already know them. That's what it feels like when you go to MAGFest. So if anything, more of that, if possible.
Actually, I would agree with you with like the friendliness of the convention. Because when I was there earlier this year, I was walking near the Belvedere Lobby Bar. This group called the Hit Points were just starting to perform. They were a bluegrass cover band. And I was heading somewhere else, and I stopped dead in my tracks when I heard like the music coming from that. I was like, oh, actually, that sounds pretty cool. And I was like, this is a bluegrass cover band? Wow, that's amazing. And I was like standing, because you know how the Belvedere is like usually full. And I was like standing room only, and I saw this dude sitting at this table with 2 extra spots. And I was like, hey, is it all right if I sit at this table with you? He's like, yeah, that's fine. He was like, and I was like, cool. It's like, you mind if I call up my girlfriend so she can come over? Because I texted her. And he was like cool with it too. I flat out texted her. It's like, I don't know what you're doing right now. Stop what you're doing and come to the bar right now. And he asked, he's like, well, can I just have like this seat so I can see the band? I was like, dude, this is your table. You get the best seat for sure. And like, yeah, he could have just said no. And we would have just stood, told him thank you. And he was totally awesome. I mean, how often, I mean, you can't really do that so much in real life. It would be weird if you go up to someone's, like say for instance, you're in a restaurant, you go up to someone's table. Hey, is anyone else taking these seats? Can we sit here? They'd be like, get out of here, or I'm holding this for someone else. But at this convention, I totally dig the friendly vibe of it.
Yeah. Last year, 2 years ago, someone bought someone ordered 1,000 McDonald's chicken nuggets and just shared them with people in the lobby.
What? That is so random.
That is. They just hung out. They just chilled, and it's like, yeah, if anyone wants free chicken McNuggets, I ordered 1,000, so come on by.
So I wouldn't even know if I would even accept that, man. But that's actually awesome and generous on that person's behalf.
It is. It so is.
So on with a few more questions for your documentary. How would you feel if they made a MAGFest closer to you?
I was actually thinking about that recently. I kind of like the fact that I have to go pretty far. I have to actually travel outside of my state to go to MAGFest. I feel like it adds a little bit of extra charm to it, like it's this kind of adventure. But if they did make a MAGFest closer to here, I could just invite people back to my house and just interview them over here, We have the backdrop, we have all the equipment, I don't got to take that over there. It could be pretty cool. I've been really happy to see that MAGFest is expanding. They got MAGWest. At some point, I'm sure they'll put one in the south or maybe one more in the north. They have Mag Classic, Mag Stock. It's nice. I think that they should put more MAGFests. Maybe at some point, maybe we'll even have a MAGFest in another country. That could be really cool. MAGFest Italy, MAGFest Spain, MAGFest Australia, something like that.
Japan.
MAGFest Japan.
Have you ever been to BitGen Gamerfest?
No, I haven't been, unfortunately.
Not even part of the documentary questions, but I went there for the first time ever earlier this year, just on a whim. I was like, screw it, I'll just go. It's pretty much a one-day MAGFest set inside of a dive bar in Baltimore, and I had a great time.
Nice.
It was a solid lineup, and I would recommend.
Yeah, I saw your video. I saw your video on either the one that just happened or the one before, or both of them.
Well, I only went to
Uh,
one. That was this one this year.
oh, okay. Well, I definitely saw that, and I remember you saying how it was like you were listing out all the bands. Like there was a lot of bands on that lineup.
I do find it hilarious that I had to travel out of state to go see a band, year 2000X, who are from Lansing, Michigan. So I had to travel out of state to see a band from my home state perform after a 7-year hiatus. It's crazy, but it was definitely well worth the trip, and that was just a solid weekend altogether. That's a different story for a different time, but yeah, that was a very solid weekend, and I'm glad that I was able to attend BitGen GamerFest. But so for you, I would definitely recommend that down the road. Might not be a yearly and every year thing for me, but I could definitely see myself returning in the future.
Yeah, and that's another thing that they could totally pull out because it put to other places as well. Because these bands that perform at MAGFest, they do tours across the country. Many of them do. One year, I saw the holy grail trifecta of video game music that I would like, the bands that I'd like to see, which was Protomen, Bit Brigade, Power Glove. They did a tour in America. I couldn't unfortunately make it because they didn't really stop by where I'm at. I was working as well, but I mean, if these bands are willing to go out to all these other places, and I mean, all you really need is a dive bar and dedicated people, and there are MAGFesters all over the country, they should totally expand that to other places too. That could be really good.
I would agree with that. I would agree. Having the bar is one thing. That's cool that they got a venue. But it's like when I've attended like video game cover concerts, just as I guess maybe it's just the state of Michigan, I don't see like a lot of people come out to these events. And I'm like, do they not know about it? Do they not care enough to go? And I'm like, seriously, folks, this is awesome music. Why don't you come out to this stuff? And it's just low turnouts. And of course, and when the bands see that it's a low turnout, they're not going to want to come back. Why waste their time? This is the problem I have, at least with Michigan, because I feel that they're fickle when it comes to video game events just in general.
Every time I've seen Power Glove or Bit Brigade around here, especially in St. Vitus, Brooklyn, very, very full house, very packed.
Is there anything that you are looking forward to from this upcoming year's event?
Oh, 100%. This year we had a landmark. This year we had an insane amount of people responding. I think it's a total of like 80 people that are down to do an interview. And I'm just like, I want to do all of you guys for interviews, but it's not going to happen. That's not only would that be an insane amount of interviewing all weekend long, but that would be like at least 2 years worth of editing at the pace that we do things. In terms of also doing all our Two Stupid Gamers stuff, it would just be way too much. So I got a huge pool. I'm seeing that the interest is even growing in this, and there are way more people that want to do. So I'm excited to meet everybody. We're also doing another Persona dance party as well, so I'm excited for that. I'm actually in the process of editing the current video for that from last year. I'm excited to see Power Glove and Protomen for the first time. I've not seen Protomen yet, so I'm really excited for that. I'm also going to try to check out the DJ battles. I've stopped going the last 2 years because I felt like they moved away from having this really cool format of 6 DJs battling, and it's like 6 monsters just on stage, like one after another. Ever since I think MAGFest 12, that video spoiled me because I expect that every time, but that was such a high level of DJ sets. But I want to go back. I feel like if I don't go to the DJ battles, I'm gonna miss stuff. I want to see Benjamin Briggs. I want to see Grimecraft. I want to see DJ Cutman. So I'm gonna make the effort to actually go back and start checking those out again.
Final question for your documentary. Besides 2020, will you be coming back to MAGFest in the future?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I kind of figured that was the answer.
Yeah, at this point, this is an every year thing for me. It's too much fun. You meet so many great people and have such a good time. You would be really losing out on like not going. Sometimes I miss conventions, like other conventions. I haven't gone to PAX in like 5 years. I really want to go back, but I feel like the one that would hurt the most if I didn't go is definitely MAGFest.
If people wanted to find out more about you online, where could they go?
Yeah, so you could go to youtube.com/two stupid gamers. It's TOO, and then gamers is with a Z. We're also on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and I also stream for the channel on Twitch too. Same thing, same way that it's spelled. So any of that is totally fine.